everybody, and welcome into the iRacing Today radio show for today, which is May the 21st, 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it. We have made it to show one, number 99. That's right, we are at the Carl Edwards old number Wayne Gretzky episode of this show. 99 is like one less than 100, and we are so excited that we're almost to show 100, but here we are in show 199. I've just skipped ahead a whole bunch. Because that's what I do. I mean, that's like, I'm so excited. We're just going to skip over the next 100 shows and just go right to 199. But it is show number 99. I'm your host, Trevor Cameron, and I appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with us. And here, also spending some time with us, as I point over to here, because that's where he is on my screen, we have Mr. Chad Dalton. How you doing tonight, Chad?
I'm doing good, and I'm no longer creepy and scary.
Yes, I also want to mention the fact that when I point over to where you are on my screen, I'm pointing at the exact opposite of where you actually are, according to the viewers. So,
great.
So I have failed horribly because everything is backwards. But yes, Chad's.
So I should be pointing this way.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yeah, and you're pointing right at me, so I'm all like, yeah, Chad's right over there, right? Which would put you right in my wall. So I don't understand how, physics don't work, man. Physics is magic. But anyway, this is the show, and we appreciate you stopping by. Welcome in to show number 99. I'm going to beat that into the ground, I suppose, because I'm excited that it's show number 99. And like you said, Chad's not creepy anymore. He's not all like, hey, right, okay. Hey, so what's going on, guys? I'm really excited to be at the show. I don't like to make eye contact, but,
I am actually face on now. A thought occurred to me this morning. Because I knew it's show night. And I'm like, all right, we're doing a show. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. I don't really stream anymore, so why in the world am I leaving my webcam all the way up there when I could bring it all the way down here? And, make it a more friendly user experience. My name just popped up on the screen. That's cool.
I know,
because you
because
highlighted your...
Yeah, well, I highlight the Skype window, and it doesn't actually make you go out of... It used to kind of pop my face up in front of it, but I fixed that. But instead, it just replaces the Skype logo with a watermark with your name over there and how long we've been talking. So I could do that all... I'd be like, bam, we've been talking for 24 minutes, Chad. Yeah, what do you think of that?
World record.
Take that, Skype watermark.
But let's get into this 99th show because there is so many cool things to talk about, including one very big thing.
Yes, there is. So we've got a whole bunch of news for you guys, mostly dealing with some series and particular races coming up here. Excuse me. Chad's got some experiences on the actual track. I've got some news about an upgrade I just made, like literally an hour ago, to my computer that was going to increase my hopefully my racing and gaming experience. Actually, not hopefully. I can't wait. Actually, I don't want to be doing the show right now. I want to be gaming with this new thing, but we'll talk about that a little bit. And we are going to let you guys know what our big surprise is coming up for show 100. We told you that we were working on something big for show number 100, and we didn't want to let you guys know what it was yet because it wasn't done and it wasn't in the bag yet, and we didn't want to let you guys know and then be all disappointed. Well, it's totally happening, and so we'll let you guys know what that is, and trust me, you guys are going to love it. So, moving right into the show, in the news here, we've got some more signing of licensing and whatnot. That it seems to be a weekly deal around here. We need a new section. The iRacing.com licensing deal of the week kind of thing. But iRacing.com, which you may be familiar with, and the SRO Motorsports Group are joining forces to establish the world's first World Championship Endurance Sim Racing Series. Bam! That's a lot of words. The iRacing Blancpain GT Series. Scheduled to debut next spring, the iRacing Blancpain GT Series will feature the world's elite endurance sim racing teams in GT3 cars, and Chad is shaking his head because he doesn't like the way I say Blancpain, competing for cash prizes and merchandise in races broadcast on iRacing Live. That's a lot of words to get through, man.
You talk faster than you drive.
That is a fair observation, my friend. Well, I get my radio. It's my radio voice. My radio voice is not a slow thing. It's a fast thing.
But it could be slow. Start a new trend.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sunday.
Okay,
Ah,
continue.
okay. The GT3 cars are competing for cash prizes. Prizes? See, I talk slow. I can't say the words. Cash prizes and merchandise in races broadcast on iRacing Live. Says Tony Gardner, president at iRacing.com, we're proud to partner with the SRO Motorsports Group in creating the iRacing Blancpain GT Series. It's a perfect marriage of SRO Motorsports' experience, organizing and marketing both the Blancpain Endurance Series and Blancpain Sprint Series with iRacing's proven ability to run professional level sim racing series on a global scale. Add the world's top sim racing teams to the mix, and you have a unique and compelling new form of motorsports. This is quoting Stefan Rattel, founder and CEO of SRO Motorsports Group. We're excited about the iRacing Blancpain, I figured he'd say it differently, GT Series. Just as the Blancpain GT Series represents the world's premier GT series, the iRacing Blancpain
You know what I'm getting out of this post
GT.
so far?
Yes,
They
sir.
just wanted to say block pain as many times as possible.
The GT Series will enable premier sim racers and teams around the world to compete on a highly professional level. End quote. Open to approximately 40 teams, the iRacing Blancpain GT Series will utilize iRacing's driver swap function, which we all know and love, that enables teams of two or more of iRacing's 60,000 active members. I just paused on that because the last time we mentioned a number, I believe it was 50,000 plus members. Apparently, it is now 60,000 plus members. To co-drive the same car from different locations anywhere in the world. Beginning in April 2016, that's a ways away, teams will compete in races of up to 6 hours in digital versions of GT3 BMWs, Fords, McLarens, and other manufacturers. That seems a little bit, we've got some things in the works that aren't available yet that are going to be part of this series. On laser scan replicas of many of the circuits in the Blancpain Endurance Series and Blancpain Sprint Series, including Brands Hatch, Monza, Silverstone, Spa-Francorchamps, Zolder, and the Nürburgring. The iRacing Blancpain GT Series will award cash, merchandise, and other prizes to the top performers in three main categories: team, drivers, and manufacturers, and favorite podcasters. There is a forum post that explains all that information, and we will put a link to it in the show notes so you guys can go and find it easily. There.
Now, the thing that I found interesting when I read this post is that it says that teams will compete in races of up to 6 hours. So basically, your teams are pretty much all going to be two drivers each. I mean, some people might do three or four, but it's kind of shooting yourself in the foot in our reality. So you're looking at like a gazillion two-driver teams here, and in our particular situation with our teammates, and then we have a bunch of show listeners who will probably participate as well. You're gonna have like a bunch of iRacing Todays out there. I'm just throwing that there.
That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
So
we will flood the market. We may not have an official sponsorship in the official iRacing painting area where you could throw that logo on there, but a bunch of you are painting up iRacing Today iRacing Today Motorsports / iRacing Today radio show cars through trading paints and putting them out there on the track. And we keep finding them in the wilds with endurance racing and teams like this. Man, we're going to be everywhere. World domination.
yeah, so I am gonna try to find a partner, not named Trevor, and participate in this series. No comments, just a smirk.
That was a sad face. It was, Trevor has a
Oh.
sad face.
Now moving right along, round 7 of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series heads to the famed and now big giant oak tree-less Virginia International Raceway
Did I miss something?
on Saturday. You know
Did
the
there-
big tree that they have there?
Did they chop it down?
No, it got struck by lightning like a year or two ago and died.
Oh, I was unaware of this. My condolences to that
R.I.P.
tree.
tree. Yes. But anyways, the 58 lap online race, I love how they gotta throw that in there, will be broadcast on iRacing.com/live beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern, of course, as I said, on Saturday, or 1400 GMT. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series features nearly 3 dozen of the world's best sim racers going head-to-head in the iRacing's, not in the, but we'll scratch the, and go within iRacing's fastest and most sophisticated racing car. The Formula One Williams Toyota FW31 contested on many of the world's most legendary road courses. Of course, the series awards more than 15,000 in prizes and cash to the top performers.
Cash money,
Four-time,
moolah,
yeah,
cheddar cheese.
Ching. Four-time world champion Gregor Hutu, who is the man, rides a tidal wave of momentum into VIR because he just scored his third consecutive win. At Watkins Glen a fortnight ago. Remember we went through a fortnight on here for a while?
Yeah, we were in a fortnight state. So Mr. Hoochie is up to his old tricks, is he?
Yes. But a fortnight ago to bolster his series points lead. Still seeking his first win of the season, Martin Krunke, is the only sim racer currently within striking distance of Hutu. And that's got to make Martin feel pretty good. In a way. I'm sure he would like to be closer or even ahead. But to be that close to Mr. Hutu is quite an accomplishment. While former world champion Hugo Lewis, and then a big name that I'm going to do my best to pronounce, but will probably screw it up, so get ready to laugh. Aleski Yuslo Jakaloa. Or La. Yeah.
I would say that's probably a close enough approximation of how that would probably sound, give or
Probably
take.
not. And then it says in parentheses, he was winner of this season's opening 2 rounds, and Oli Pakalaka are tightly bunched in the battle for third place. That guy seems like somebody that would be from Hawaii.
I don't know if that is how that name's pronounced, but like I was offended by the way that you pronounced the name. I don't know why. Like that just seemed like, but looking at it, that's probably what I would have said too. So
Okay. Well, anyways, my bad. But they are tightly bunched in the battle for third place in the standings, and of course, you can follow the season all season long by visiting the World Championship website. Which, by the way, I don't know if we've ever mentioned
yeah.
that they
But
have
by
one
the
of
way,
those.
there's a World Championship website.
I have checked it out quite a few times, but in case you were unaware that it existed, it does. And the website address is www.cs.iracing.com.
Yes.
And thus concludes our programming note.
Excellent. But those are some races that are in the future with the endurance series and racing that other people are doing. Well, here's some racing that you're all going to be doing, and that is the iRacing Indy 500, which hope against hope. Hopefully, it's better than last year's Indy 500 because we all know how that went. We talked about that at length as we attempted to stream and talk about that, but I'm sure this year will be much, much better. They've made several improvements. They've had a whole year and several other little meltdowns in order to work on improvements. So, fingers crossed. The Indy 500 this year will be run between May 29th and 31st. Now, don't they normally run it the same weekend as?
They do, but you have to keep in mind that also happening this weekend, I believe it starts tomorrow, or might even start tonight, actually, is the Coca-Cola 600. And of course, in that NIS series, fixed and open, they are the full-length version of the Coca-Cola 600. So essentially, you could call it a World Tour event or whatever,
Right.
Like they used to call it. But it's obviously a part of NIS. So that's going on this week. Last year, that was part of iRacing's problem, where they had the Indy 500 and the 600 going off at the literally exact same time. So I think that was a move on their part this year to kind of help separate and maybe, keep things up and running.
That would make a lot of sense. Although it will prevent those from, attempting to do the double,
Yeah.
which I have done in the past. I did that once. So that was an interesting day. I was very tired at the end of it. But there are a bunch of time slots, and by a bunch I mean 4 time slots between the 29th and the 31st, so next weekend. And that is Saturday at 1 GMT, which is actually Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Saturday at 8 o'clock GMT, which is Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Well, actually, that's 2000, sorry, GMT. You know, it's 8 o'clock p.m., but
Yeah, I was sitting here going, where the heck is 8 GMT?
well,
Like,
that's what 2000
read,
is.
read the show notes, man. Read the show
Sorry,
notes.
I was interpretationing.
I don't care.
Sunday
Did it
at
wrong.
1 a.m. Okay, so Sunday at 1 GMT, which is Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Sunday at 12 GMT, which is Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. The Twitter hashtag for this, if you're going to be talking about it online, join the conversation and all that good junk, is hashtag iRacing Indy 500, which, hey, surprise, surprise, is what we all used last year anyway on our own. And they said, hey, you know what? Why don't we make an official to hashtag, because they're going to do it anyway. So,
Yeah.
and that's the one we're going to use. The servers will be the U.S. servers only, so for what seems to be the lion's share of our user base, sorry you're going to have a bit of lag involved. All of our UK and Australian and European drivers. It's going to be the U.S. servers. The car will obviously be the Dallara DW12 car, hopefully with slightly less aero than the real car seems to have this year at Indy. And of course, the track will be the Indy Oval, because it would be stupid to have it at Daytona, because it's the Indy 500. Not that that wouldn't be fun, I should say.
But it would be stupid.
But it would be stupid to have the Indy 500 there.
Yes.
So those are the slots. Do you wish to continue on with when we can start practicing for this baby?
I do wish to continue. We can start practicing next week, Tuesday, May 26th. Basically, right when it flips to that in GMT. And they will remain, those practice sessions will remain up until the event starts. I'm assuming that when it says the event starts, that means Friday, but that seems a little unrealistic to me, because what about the other people?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the past they've always just kept running the practice sessions regardless, like through to the next switch
To
over.
the next week. Yeah. Qualifying will begin at the same time, but 30 minutes after, so 0030 GMT, and will remain open, of course, until May the 28th at 23:59. So not a second more on that one.
Everybody get out of your cars.
Yeah. This is important, and
Yeah.
actually this is extremely important
Yes.
because there is an extra, a little addition, and I'm not sure if it is in this of information. Each qualifying session will last for 4 green flag laps. Your average lap time will be your qualifying lap. So all 4 of your laps are extremely important. So it's not like, ooh, set up the first 3 for the last one. It is all 4 are important. Drivers will be placed in splits based on qualifying times, which I still kind of hate, and then graded based on their qualifying time, which is okay.
Well, okay. See, now I'm pretty sure. Didn't they last year do it by just split them up by iRating like they would? Did they split it by qualifying? Because I know sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I kind of prefer, like for these big events like this, when they do it by qualifying time, because that way you kind of get that, that feel of people trying to get into that top split, that top 33 cars. So I kind of for this event in particular, I like it. I like them doing it this way.
And here's why I don't like it. Because you get somebody in there who is really good at qualifying, but sucks at racing, and they end up in the top split. And that's my problem with it. Anyways, but I probably won't be in the top split anyway, so why do I care? For the record, qualifying is not required. You will just be placed on the grid if you don't do a qualifying time, behind everybody who does have one. And then you'll be placed by iRating. If a driver does not post a qualifying time, then they will be placed behind all of... Wow, I just read that.
Yep,
Okay,
yes, you
I'm
did.
an idiot. Anyways, but one other thing that I don't see mentioned here that I'm pretty positive is happening this year. I'll try to confirm this before we are done, but last year, I think, I don't remember the exact total, but I think there was like 10 or 15 minutes that they gave you to complete your four lap average time. I believe it was 15 minutes or something like that.
All right.
Um, and as a result, uh, some people gamed the system, is a polite way of putting that. And basically, they would sit there and they would try to let their fuel burn off
Oh, I remember
as
that.
much as possible to where when they went out and did their four lap average, they had, the least amount of fuel as possible to get to the checkered flag and then run out. Which, of course, technically cheating. So iRacing has come up with what I kind of think is a brilliant idea, and they have tossed in the little timer. I believe they're making it 5 minutes. So basically, when you jump into your qualifying server, you have to go, or you're not going to get in your four laps. I'm not 100% sure if that's happening, but I'm pretty positive that it is. I read that somewhere. And I was trying to find it so I could tell you guys for sure, but I can't find it. Anyways, assuming that that's what's going to happen, you'll only have 5 minutes. So don't be like, oh, I'll just load up my qualifying session, go use the bathroom, get a drink, and then come back and do my laps because it'll already be over by then. When you join the qualifying session, do it. Now, on the day of the actual race, warm-up session will, of course, happen before and that will be 15 minutes long. That, of course, is to allow extra time to join the session. Safety rating and iRating. This event is official, and therefore official session rules apply.
Right.
And obviously, safety rating, iRating will be in effect. Toes resets, pit stops, and yellow flags. No resets will be allowed. Damage repair will be on. Typical pit stop rules are in effect, and they're pretty quick pit stops in the IndyCar, FYI.
Oh, yeah.
The race will begin with a rolling start, so you'll take one lap around the track behind the pace car, and then you'll go green. Full course yellows are on, and also an important note, which will cut into the length of cautions, FYI.
Hopefully.
They will, yeah, well, they will be single file restarts. So even if you have 20 cautions, each of those cautions is going to be really quick because of single file restarts. For whatever reason, single file restarts seem to be a lot quicker than the double file restarts on iRacing.
Well, and
So,
on top of that, the fact that, I mean, these cars, as we've talked about a bunch in the past, are very aero sensitive. So you get a
yes,
bunch of people who are all kind of pumped up and excited, and you're starting double file after a caution. It in this particular race, more than a lot of others, cautions definitely do breed cautions in this sort of style of racing. So having
yeah,
them single file will hopefully kind of mitigate that as well.
yes. Watch your tire spin as well on your restarts. Trevor will tell you that more than anybody.
You can totally do
Um,
that.
One other thing that I will mention as well is that you have a pit road speed limiter in these cars. Don't forget to turn it off. Um, Member eligibility. All members in good standing with at least an oval D 4.0 and above are eligible to compete. Of course, it is 200 laps, which makes your 500 miles. Indy 500. Who knew? Max incidents before being booted from the room is 24, and you can have up to 33 race cars, or 32, rather, on the track with you. So for a total of 33.
Right.
So that'll be per split, and that is your Indy 500.
And I don't think the incident cap I looked at, it's like, oh, right, incident cap, one of these big events, 24. It's like, but I don't think that'll be an issue really because these cars, like if you're getting up there, because there's not a lot of places where you're going to run off the track, where you're going to get incidents from, hitting the grass or whatever, because it's Indy and that's just not it doesn't happen here. Scraping the wall, if you hit it hard enough to get a 2X, you're going to start damaging that car. So, I mean, if you get up to 24, you're probably not racing anymore anyway. because you've killed your car. Because these cars are, even though they're going to have that new damage model where you can spend a lot of time in the pits, these cars really aren't designed for that. So I don't think 24 will be a problem. So, and then like you were saying with the D oval license, that's too bad for the rookies, but probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
This race is like I'm really looking forward to this because like this race is intense because like these cars are so sensitive to the aero and it's so sensitive to everything that happens around them. I mean, and things can go from everything's great to you just miss your entry point on a turn once and you're in that wall, or you come out of turn 4 and you give it just that little bit too much gas or a little bit too much wheel and boom, you're around. Like it's like you are on the edge for 200 laps, that when you're racing these things, and that can be really exciting and terrifying. So I'm really looking forward to this race. Now, hopefully, we will both be racing not in the same split. Well, hey, who knows, based on qualifying time. But we'll be racing hopefully the same evening, so we'll be able to talk to each other during this. And that will hopefully be on the Friday evening edition, which was 9 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Mountain time, which is what I care about. And I know some of our teammates and stuff, that was kind of their target as well, and some of the listeners we talked to on Twitter and whatnot. Looks like Friday evening is kind of the target, which isn't a bad idea. So you get it in first, on the very first shot, and then if everything goes really bad, you got like 3 other opportunities to try it again. And then if it goes really good, 3 other opportunities to say, hey, I know what I'm doing. And if it's somewhere in the middle, or if it goes bad and you're like, I never want to race again, well, then you got 3 opportunities to just not go race.
Yeah.
So hopefully Friday evening, I will be streaming. So I will have that stream up. We'll have the team speak up. Hopefully a bunch of our teammates or, maybe some listeners or whatever in there. So we'll have some good chat going on, because I know that was the most exciting part of our Indy race last year, was just the just the conversations we had while waiting for the race to happen, and then while the races in their various forms happened. So hopefully we'll be able to provide something entertaining for you guys again to watch this year. So keep a watch on my Twitch channel over at Ratface Productions, and hopefully I'll be able to provide something entertaining and as good of a finish as I had. Like, proud of what I did last year. So
Yeah. I remember that. That was a good finish. And one other thing to note, this is a part of the Road Warriors series. So if you're participating in that and are taking it seriously, you might want to show up.
indeed, because you are going to be getting points for that series, because
Yes.
you wouldn't think, oh, well, no Road Warrior series because they're at that Indy Oval. No, sir, you are on the hook for that.
Yes. You are.
Although, just to reiterate, it is your oval license that is going to be your qualification criteria into that. So it's the oval D 4.0 or better license, not the road. Even though it is part of the Road Warrior series, I know, kind of messed up, but
I know, but it's their goal to make it as confusing as possible. Like Trevor said, I am shooting for the Friday night one and will be there, ready to go race. I was pretty pleased with my effort last year, which was the first time that I ever participated in it. I finished 12th. I wish that would have been a little better, but still. For the strategy that I went with, and then after the race was over with, started banging my head for doing, I got a pretty good finish at 12th. If I would have gone with a slightly different strategy, I think I would have gotten about 8th or something. So, looking forward to trying again and seeing how she goes.
indeed. And like I said, we've got some other people interested in joining in there as well. So hopefully they will, we'll have a good turnout and some good stories coming out of there.
Absolutely. Speaking of stories, moving right along with our show, I have one experience that I'm going to share, and then a couple of other ones that I'm going to mention and redirect you to our blog.
Say that a couple others that I'm not going to share.
Yeah.
Like one I'm going to share, and then some other ones I'm not even going to talk about, man.
But I'm not going to talk about them because I blogged about them. And I don't know why I said our blog because you're totally not associated with
No.
that at all.
Well, I mean,
Because I don't
the
like it.
iRacing Today radio show presents the
Yes.
White Flag, Chad Dalton's blog.
It's on it's yeah. Anyways, so I'll start with the blog things. I posted a blog called and I kind of thought the name was cool. When driving a golf ball is more fun, part one. That is already up, and most of you have probably already seen it that care about reading it. And if you haven't, it's there. And it kind of talks about how on the oval side recently, I feel like I've kind of struggled a tiny bit, and on the road side, I'm fine because I'm coming off a V8 season that I will never forget. So I talked a little bit about how I was struggling a tiny bit, and then I went to Kansas and really, 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 really struggled. Then I went to Charlotte the very next night, got a little bit better, went to Gateway this past Sunday in the All-Star race that the Power Series did, which was fun. And I talk about that race, the All-Star race, in my second post, which is the part two of When Driving Golf Ball is More Fun. And I haven't released that yet, but it is written and I'm ready to release it. Except I'm making a video because the last 10 laps of that race for me were eventful. And I'm going to make a quick highlight video of that. I have been trying to do something, and John Jarrett, who we mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we did those fun races, is kind of helping me with the editing part. He's got a program he uses and can do two videos in one, but I'm struggling to get that to work on my computers for whatever reason. So I'm going to try to see if I can get that to work again. If not, then I might just do kind of a close-up of the blimp view and record the laps just so you can see it. Because it's not going to be like super fancy.
Right.
But anyways, so hopefully the second part of that post will be out within the next few days. That's my plan, so that it doesn't get too far away from, the race that I talk about, which was this past Sunday. Anyways, this past Tuesday, I went truck racing. Now, a week ago Tuesday was the first time that I had raced these new trucks that we have, the Toyota and the new Chevy. Because the last time that I had really raced the truck at all was the old Silverado that we have, and I had a blast, racing in that from time to time, the leads and stuff. But I obviously bought the Toyota Tundra, but I haven't used it. So I was kind of like, I need to use that. So I've raced in the ITSR. They have a truck series on Tuesday, which their season just ended, but I think in like 2 weeks they start again. So if you're into truck racing and you don't mind it being fixed setup, maybe check them out. And the Charlotte race went fine, and I talk about that in the blog. But the race this past Tuesday was at Homestead, and that one went really fine.
Ah.
I joined the room. Well, actually, I ran my own little test session before, and the setup was a little loose. But I kind of was like, "Ooh, I like this," because I'm the type of person that likes setups loose. And I got my seat set up and everything, so I jumped into the room. Ended up being the fastest in practice, which was fun, but it's practice. Ended up winning the pole, which was nice, because it's only my second start, so yay, pole. And got into the race, which was 110 laps, and kind of a short one, but they have the fuel cap lock at 70%, which means we had to make 2 pit stops
All right.
in that 110 lap race. And it was a very clean 110 lap race. One of the things, though, that I have to say that I like about the new truck, although I haven't raced it enough to confirm that it's totally gone, but it does seem to be relatively gone, is the draft lock racing. The old truck was just totally draft lock racing on mile and a halfs and 2 miles tracks as well.
Yeah, I remember we actually had a pretty good conversation on that in one of the shows as well, talking
Yes.
about how stupid and boring that was.
Yes. and very unrealistic that it was. This new truck model, to me, doesn't seem to have it near as bad. At Charlotte was probably one of the worst tracks for draft lock racing, maybe next to Las Vegas, that I remember in the truck on the old truck. And racing Charlotte last week in this truck, while the first four or five of us were kind of stuck together, I think that was more of that we were just that close to each other.
Hmm.
Um, in skill or in our ability, to drive or whatever. Because to me, that was more of racing because we were kind of spread out. It wasn't like the guy leading, like if I was in fifth, it wasn't like the guy leading was half a second in front of me because we were one, two, three, four, five. We were spread out over 1 or 2 seconds throughout most of that race, but we were close enough in certain situations that we were racing as if it was draft lock, but it wasn't, and that's why I think it's kind of gone with this version of the truck. Homestead was kind of more the same. I started on the pole. The guy that started second, he and I kind of drove away from the field. Now he stayed right behind me, but again, I think that's just because he was doing really good. But the two of us ran away from the field, whereas everybody else kind of separated eventually. I assume I never really saw them, but um, so that to me automatically makes the truck better than it used to be, because if that is gone, thank God, because that was so horrible. Now, this race in particular was a lot of fun for me, whereas it wasn't as fun for some people. Some people really did not like the looseness of the truck, and it is pretty loose at Homestead, especially with the weather we had, which I don't remember what it was, but it was sunny, I know that much.
It was loose
Um,
weather.
yeah, it was slick out there. But that's what I liked about it because I was able to have a really good truck on the long run, and we had a lot of long runs. Um, on my first green flag pit stop, I took four and filled it up. On the second green flag pit stop, the second run of the night, I was actually a little bit better than the first run. But the guy that was in second could never really run away from him. He just did a good job of staying right there behind me, kind of putting, I don't know, 2, 3 truck lengths between us. Occasionally he might be 6 truck lengths back or something, but it was pretty much 2 or 3 the whole time. Which again, I don't think was draft locking. I think it was just we were staying right there together. And when I came out of my first pit stop, he actually ended up ahead of me by like 1 truck length. And I pretty much, most people I think in that situation would kind of chill and take it easy and be like, okay, he got me, but I'm right behind him, so who cares? I like immediately made it a point to get back around him. I wanted to be ahead of him, not because, yeah, I got a lead every lap, but just because I knew that if I got in front of him, his truck would be harder to drive being right behind me because of the aero push and stuff. And I would be able to get out there and kind of control my own destiny, so to speak, in the clean air. And so on the last pit stop, because I couldn't really shake him, like I said, about 6, 7 car lengths was the most I ever got. I decided to go with right side tires, and which ended up being a great call because, excuse me, he went with four. I came out 5.5 or so seconds ahead of him, but I knew he was going to eat into that. And a few weeks ago, we had that rookie tip where we talked about don't watch your F3,
Right.
and just focus on doing your driving. And for the record, I don't know about Trevor, but I have gotten a few people that have given me some feedback on that, and they have tried it, what we said, to do like in a late race situation, turn it off, focus on hitting your marks, and they've done it. It's worked well, and they've gotten whatever finish they were trying to get.
Excellent.
So, cool. Well, I found myself in a situation where I knew he was going to eat into my lead quite a lot because I was on right sides, he was on all four. But the payoff was how much is he going to eat off into it. So what I did, and this is, I guess, part two of that rookie tip, is I would cross the start finish line. And because he was so far behind me, by the time that I got into turns 1 and 2, he was crossing the line, being 5 seconds back. And so obviously I'm not going to look at it there. So what I did was on the back straightaway, I would just flip over to the F1 box, which is that first box, the I think it's just the info box. And in the bottom right hand corner, it updates every lap and tells you wherever the guy ahead of you or the guy behind you is, how far they are.
Mm.
And because it only updates every lap, I find that even less distracting than flipping all the way to relative, which is constantly changing, based on the race. So every time I get to the back straightaway, well, not every time, I shouldn't say that. Every so often, when I get to the back straightaway, I just flip over to F1, check out where he was. And he was gaining, it was 5.6, 4.7, 4.2, 3.9, and this is, keeps coming all the way down. And then with about 3 laps to go, 4 laps to go, he got within 2 seconds of me, right at 2 seconds. And at that point, I was like, all right, barring any kind of stupidness, I had this locked up. And basically, as soon as I told myself that, the caution came out, and
Oh,
we ended the race under yellow.
ah,
So it worked out perfectly, but I was gonna win probably anyways, barring any kind of screw up. So
right.
uh, I took home the win, and that was pretty cool. So I got to win in
Awesome.
my Tundra. I love it. So I made a big burnout, and John Hensley accused me of making it snow because there was so much smoke. Um, but anyway, so that was my fun experience that I wanted to share.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the victory. Too bad. Too
Thank you.
bad couldn't happen. Couldn't happen under green, like you said. That way it would have,
Yeah.
sounded like it would have came down to the wire kind of thing. But you would have probably held it off. But then it's all like, we'll just throw the yellow in. Now you just win anyway. It's less climatic that way.
Well, he was only gaining like 2 or 3 tenths on me each lap. So with 3 more laps, I think he might have gotten it down to like 1.5 seconds. So I don't think he would have been close enough. But I think it's more fun to win under green.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I had led most of that race anyway, so it wasn't like I had lucked into it, or something. I had shown that I was very capable of winning, so I was okay with it ending under caution. But I like it under green better. So
Fair enough. All right. So make sure, of course, to go over and check out Chad's blog posts so you can read about all the other stuff that he kind of touched on briefly there. Now, on my end, I had a little bit of extra funds going on available, and I was thinking, it's like, well, what is it? And it all kind of fed into something different as well. The fact that, I have my PlayStation 3, it's hooked into the main TV where, me and my wife, that's kind of our play area. Like, we watch TV and movies out there, plus we play on the PlayStation, Netflix, all that stuff. But the problem is, and we also have a computer locked in out there, and that's where my wife does all of her checking her emails and all that good stuff. The problem is, it's just this one TV. It's like, well, I want to have it so that I could put out, play my PlayStation while you're watching one of your TV shows or something, so we can kind of be in the same area but doing our own thing. It's like, okay, well, I looked at it. It's like, well, maybe I need to buy, like a small little TV to set off to the side to hook up the PlayStation with or something. So I was kind of going over my head with, a couple ideas, and I thought, well, maybe I could just buy another monitor so, we could hook up the computer out there too. It's like, all right, that would make sense. But then I thought, wait a second. I have this 21.5-inch monitor that I've been using to, with my main gaming computer for quite some time. It's a bit old. It's a little bit dark. I mean, the angle that I sit in my Obutto, I have to kind of sit right up in order to have the blacks not kind of fade out on me when I'm playing a game that's, a dark game like a Batman or stuff like that. It's like, well, I know. I'll buy myself a new monitor, take this monitor, and that'll be the garage monitor from now on. So I went out today and I bought myself a brand new 27-inch monitor, and I'm looking at it right now. I set it up just before we started the show, and it is glorious. I haven't had a chance to do any gaming stuff on it. I haven't even set up, I don't know if the colors are right yet, although it looks pretty good. I mean, the first thing I did was I sat down and I was blinded by the whiteness. It's like, whoa, this thing is, and it's funny too because I remember obviously I haven't had this side by side with my old monitor because I had to take it off the Obutto to put the new one on. But I have a second monitor like we talked about last week, where I put, Skype or various other things while I'm racing. And I remember the color and the tone on those was pretty similar, give or take. I mean, the other one's an even older monitor. But now that I can see this new monitor side by side with that old monitor, as I point to you people who are watching on video.
Because we can totally see that.
Oh, I know. But anyway, I'm looking over there. That monitor over there looks so washed out. It's so, like, because I'm looking at Chad's face over there, because that's right now. That monitor is the Chad face monitor. And looking at that, and Chad looks kind of blurry and faded. And that's where I'm capturing him for the stream. But I look at the stream version of Chad, and Chad looks all HDified, and he looks great over here. But over there, he looks all blurry and washed out. So I know, and it's coming from the same place. But wow, what a difference. So I can't wait to get some gaming on. I got my measuring tape ready to go. So when we're done the show here, I'm going to remeasure my field of view for iRacing, because, you take into account how big your monitor is as part of that calculation. So I'm guessing that's going to change probably by a fair margin. Actually, it's funny, too, because right now when I do, other gaming or the podcast as it is right now, the seat's in its full back position, as far back as it'll go. And like right now, this thing is so huge in front of me, and I move the seat up when I race so I can get closer to the wheel. I don't even know if I can do that. Like that feels like I'll just be too close to that monitor. So I'm curious what my FOV will end up being, and I'm actually kind of hoping, and it would make sense that it will pull it back a little bit, because with this much screen, I'd be able to see more of the dashboard and stuff. And hopefully that'll kind of solve the problem I was talking about a couple weeks ago, I think it was, where I had these huge blind spots where I didn't have before, where I didn't have that peripheral vision out the side, like in the Legends car for our fun races, where I couldn't see the car beside me. So if I move back a little bit, because my screen's bigger, maybe that'll kind of fix that problem as well. But as soon as we're done the show, I'm going to do that and get on the track and just see how glorious iRacing looks. Because, it's like one of those things where I know that, I have everything just pumped up most of the way. And, I know how that looks. But looking at how much crisper this screen looks compared to the old one, like, forget about the size. Yeah. Like, this screen just looks so much better. Because, the one I had before was an old school, LE or LCD monitor before they called them LED. So it didn't have the LED backlight in it. It was the old panel where the field of view kind of wasn't good. So, and this looks so much crisper. So I can't wait to try a couple games out here tonight in order to see how it works out. Actually, Jason, who's in our chat room there, was I kind of mentioned which one I was going to be doing. And he says actually he had the same model, but a smaller size one there. So he kind of gave me some advice that it was a decent monitor, and he was right, because it's I'm tickled with this purchase, and I got it at like a really good price. He had actually suggested another one that was a higher up, but the reason why I picked this one is because I was able to pick this up for $180. I mean, $180 for this much of an improvement to my gaming machine is amazing. So
good deal.
Yeah. So anyway, can't wait to try it out. Plus, I picked it specifically because the bezels on the side are like tiny. So if I do go to a now 27-inch triple screen setup, which will not happen until I move houses, because my office will not contain that. Like, I had to move my Obutto to the left a little bit, well, actually by a fair bit, because it wouldn't fit with my other monitor on the side. It's like, all right, here we go, and bang, it's like, all right, we have to shift everything over. Fortunately, I can still get out of it, because my keyboard tray now kind of hits the wall in order for me to get out of this thing. So, but yeah, actually, I wish that I had enough at that price, like, to go triples right off the gate. Wouldn't have been that expensive, but way more money than I had right now. Plus, like I said, I literally could not do that where my computer is. It would not fit. So anyway, so that's my that was my big move for this week, is that bit of excitement. The thing on the PlayStation that got me going is, in the other gaming realm, is I started playing Destiny, which is a kind of MMO shooter on the PlayStation. I'd kind of let it go for a while. I always was curious about it, but turns out they had a demo. It's like, oh, I'll try it. had a blast with it, and it was on sale for like $40, so I picked that up. So, and that's not something my wife would want to watch me play. So it's like I need another way to play the PlayStation. Although, quite frankly, this monitor has an HDMI input on it, so I bet you it would look real sweet playing it sitting in my old butto. So maybe I'll just drag the
Yeah.
PlayStation in here instead. So, but anyway, so that was my big move for the week, and I will talk more about it next week. Let you guys know how glorious iRacing looks on it, and it's funny too. And like even for podcasting, like right now because I have so much screen space. Before it was like I had one thing on the screen and I had to keep changing. Now I got like the show notes are on this side of the screen and the stream stuff is on this side of the screen. It's awesome. I'm very happy.
Using all the screen.
Indeed, all of the screen. Oh, I can't wait to see how the games play out on this thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's funny. Me and Chad apparently had the same idea because he just tweeted out the same thing I just tweeted out because I had it ready to go.
Because we're awesome. That's why we're on a show together.
But before we get to the big surprise, there's a couple other quick items we wanted to mention. Actually, I was talking for a bunch here. Why don't you talk about the new wheel possibilities? Since I was blabbering on about my monitor for a few minutes there.
Um, there is a rumor, and most likely even a confirmed ordeal, I guess, that well, we talked about. Well, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but it seems like we have. But in case we didn't, Logitech, of course, makers of the Dragon Force GT wheel, which is what I have, Trevor has, and of course the G25, G27. I also have a G27 somewhere here.
I have your pedals.
Yeah, my pedals are in Canada. But they announced, I think it was like 2 years ago, sometime in 2013, the head man of the Logitech company basically said, I'm not quoting him, but he basically said, all right, we are not making any more racing wheels. So it's kind of like, well, rats, Logitech is kind of dead in that front. Well, now, today, there is some stuff floating around that they have, in fact, created a design and all of the wheels and all that force feedback and everything, that goes inside of the wheel, that they have come out with a G29. Now, when I say come out, I don't mean it's like, oh, it's for sale, go buy it. It is a leaked possible rumor that is possibly also seriously happening. And we found there's the other thing that I've always been cautious about with Logitech is that I've always seen like pictures of a wheel coming out that people are like, oh, this is going to be the G29, but it doesn't totally look realistic, like something that they would do. Whereas this picture that has surfaced today actually does kind of make me look at it and go,
It looks pretty legit, I'll tell you that.
yeah. And it does, if it is legit and if this all ends up happening, I like the way that they've done it because I think kind of in a weird sense they've combined the G27 wheel with the Driving Force GT wheel, which basically what I mean by that is you have the grip and the wheel, the round part of the wheel, is kind of a G27-ish. And all the buttons and everything, the placement of the buttons and stuff is very similar to the Driving Force GT, which is kind of cool. So, again, if it ends up being true and this comes out and all that cool stuff, I imagine it will be a little pricey. I don't know, I didn't read or hear anything about pedals being with it, but I would assume that they are. It could just be a standalone wheel, who knows? But that looks really cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like you said. I mean, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like an amalgamation of the best parts of the G27 wheel and the DFGT. Like we've talked about in the past, the G27, the pedals were, much better. But the wheel, we kind of preferred the DFGT wheel instead of the the G27 wheel, mostly for the amount of buttons on it, in all honesty. So although even though the G27 wheel, from my understanding, it's smoother, it's less notchy when you're actually turning. So, it might be a better wheel, but it doesn't have all the buttons. But the DFGT, we had to put those shifter mods on there like we talked about. This picture shows, the real steel, or at least metal of some sort, shifter paddles on there. It doesn't, when you look at the picture, it doesn't actually have a knob shifter there. So that would kind of lead me to believe that they're probably going to go with the separate, like they do with the G27, which is something that I wish I had on the DFGT. Especially with the Obata, where you actually could have a little, there's a little platform you can put off to the side where you could actually mount a shifter or a flight stick or whatever. And I would like to kind of have it down there. So if they, and then of course, a lot has changed in the abilities of tech between, when they came out with the DFGT and the G27. So you would think that it would also be, have a lot of inner workings that would be better than the current realm of wheels. I mean, you look at what other companies have put out, Fanatec and Thrustmaster lately, they've been putting out some pretty impressive products. So you take all those advancements, you take the best of both wheels, set of pedals with it. This could be one heck of a, of a competitor in the market. So I'm hoping it's real, because looking at that thing, like, I would totally buy that wheel. So.
Yes. And just to clarify, because it is kind of a rumor leaked thing, there's no price tag or anything yet on that. But I would imagine, depending on what it comes with, if it's just a wheel, then it might make it a little bit cheaper. But I would imagine it might be kind of expensive. After all, the G27 was $300, brand new. So if this one's supposed to be bigger and better, it might be a little bit more.
Yeah, so we shall see. I mean, hopefully, it is it is true, and it is reasonably priced, and is everything we hoped.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so we figured Chad found that. We found it specifically. It's been all over the net kind of thing, but the site that we found our stuff on was a site called tgrsim.com is where we found the information. They themselves mention another site called Max Console. I don't know where the original leak was, but that's where we found it. So, full credit given, because it's not our story. Lastly, before we get to what we're going to be doing for our 100th episode, we had an email that we were going to read last week, but ran out of time. But we've got some time this week, so we'll briefly read that. And it was from listener Michael Barch, who basically came up with a potential rookie tip. It is something that we have talked about in the past, but it's been a while. So, and we know we get new listeners all the time, so we figured it'd be worthwhile reading this out for you guys. So thanks to Michael, and I'm just going to read his email here. He says, "Good day, gentlemen. First, I want to again say thank you," all capitals, so he's obviously yelling at us, "for the show. I have been driving a lot for work, and I'm really enjoying listening to the earlier podcast and radio show, Cowboy." For those who haven't been with us since the beginning, there was a gentleman we were working with when we first did the radio show who liked to say cowboy a lot, especially during the advertisements that we used to run during the show. It's great that you guys are doing this for the iRacing community, and it's adding a great deal to my experience. Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate we definitely appreciate the compliment, and are glad, because that's exactly why we do this. Unfortunately, I was not able to participate in the last round of fun races, but I'm looking forward to and hoping I can join in the next event. I haven't made it through the old shows yet, so you may have covered this feature of iRacing already, which we have, but again, it's been a while. If you haven't, I wanted to share something that has helped me quite a bit as a new member and racer. I also think this is a contributing factor to my rather quick, he says, I think, progress to a B oval license. That is the Spectate and Ghost race feature. When a new week comes along, I begin practicing the new track by myself to get the hang of it. Smart move. And then I head over to Spectate on an official race. I watch the leaders for what works and also see some things I should try to avoid. Checking out outhouses in the middle of fields is something I would suggest avoiding during official races. I then join in.
Second that.
I then join in the race as a quote-unquote ghost, which he says, ghosts. ghosts, and attempt to follow those who are doing well. I try to treat this as a real race and practice those things the leaders are doing, but also have the comfort of not worrying about screwing up anyone else's race or my own SR if I overdrive my abilities. Now, that's a key point there. If you're going to use the ghost racing feature, to get the maximum benefit out of it, definitely pretend like those other cars are real. Yes, you will clip through them, you will not hit them, but pretend like you would. Elsewise, you're not going to learn anything useful. Well, you're not going to learn as much as you would when you actually get it there on the track. He says, I think this feature would make a good rookie tip. I agree, as it has helped this rookie a lot. Have a great next show, and when I do finish up on the old podcasts, I may reach out to you guys to ask if you can step up your recording schedule, as I will need more content to listen to while driving. I think 3 to 4 shows a week would suffice. Yeah, that would work. Thanks, Michael Bars. P.S. Just getting about 3 to 4 additional shows a week. Whew. I think 5 would be better. Oh, I don't think we have enough content.
He let us off the hook,
yep,
and then he just put us right back in
bam! There. Right there, right there, right again. So, you know.
Yes, Ghost feature racing is definitely one of the cooler, but maybe less spoken or thrown out into the open, and possibly even one of the lesser used features of iRacing, unfortunately.
Yep.
And the only reason why I put all that into the same sentence is because of one of the things I said, where it's not one of those things that iRacing just throws at you when you join. And I kind of wish that they did. But for those of us, or you out there, you know, that do use it or didn't know it existed or haven't used it, I definitely recommend trying it, especially like in his case where he's kind of new to the sim, learning things as he goes. If you're like him, it's a good tool. You would not believe what you would pick up out of it. It is a little weird when the car suddenly drives through you, but if you treat it as if it was a real race, it is definitely worth giving it a few tries. Especially on some tracks maybe that you just really struggle with and you can't seem to nail down. You can get out there, and the thing I like about it, just to make up an example, is let's say that you're just terrible at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You can't get anything right. You don't know the braking points, the line, nothing. If you ghost race in a race, doesn't matter what car it is, but you just jump out there and you're ghost racing at New Hampshire, and let's say there's kind of a long green flag going, you can go out there and follow the leader, and pretend, you know, that you might be in second, for example, and you're trying to catch the leader. But even more so, and probably more important, is you're following the leader. So you're gonna see his car start to slow down and then start to accelerate, and then what line he's kind of choosing to go around there. So that can be a huge help before you even get into the race, because a lot of times I think people learn how to drive the track when they're actually in the race, which is okay to a degree, but it can be a whole lot more helpful if you learn how to do it before you even get in the race.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm guilty of that. I mean, I'll, you know, practice the track on my own and then go out and it's like, all right, well, I'm good enough to do this. I was near a couple cars once or twice during that practice session, so let's do this. But you know, I'd almost like to see, I mean, just thinking out loud, like, iRacing can be intimidating. We've kind of mentioned that in the past, you know, when you get into it. I think it would actually be kind of cool if they set up almost a tutorial kind of situation where, you know, even if it was just a guide that just basically said, all right, so you've joined, you know, iRacing, what do you do now? And then, you know, kind of walk you through. It's like, okay, well, and use free content. For example, it's like, okay, if you want to be oval, if you want to be road, do this. So it's like, okay, now start up a practice session, you know, click here, start a practice session with the Legends at South Boston, you know, and run a few laps, you know, then look for, you know, a ghost session, you know, or a session to spectate, and kind of like, you know, do this, now do this, now do this. So at least you see the different features that you might miss otherwise. And it would be a kind of a
Mhm.
good learning curve to kind of get you ready for your first race. Like just make a
Yeah,
document, getting ready for your first race, and then kind of step one,
like a
step two, step
checklist.
three. Yeah. Obviously they do have documents, the quick start guide. Like they do have some stuff, but they don't have something that kind of does that. You know,
And they don't necessarily force you to, like, you can basically sign up for the sim and immediately go do a race.
yep.
You don't have to do any practice. And I kind of wish to, like, your idea is great, and I kind of wish to take it a step further. They'd almost, I hate to say it like this, but that they would almost force you to do that, because I think, for one, it would help you learn about things that you may not otherwise find, but I think it would also help the rookie series,
Yeah.
because then you would have people who know at least more of what to do versus, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna go jump in here, wreck, crash, bang, boom, and maybe, I mean, they still might wreck, but it would at least be, I think, cleaner.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess there's a fine line between forcing people to do stuff and not being able to get right in the sim and do what they want, and having them step through a couple of hoops. But like you were saying there, like that wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Kind of a, in order to jump into an official race, you have to have at least had, you know, 10 minutes of, in your first practice session or something. I mean, obviously, just spitballing and thinking out loud here, but maybe that might not be a bad idea.
Mhm.
But then again, it's like, oh well, I just want to race. This is stupid. I hate this.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I don't know. But maybe there might be something that, yeah.
Well,
If only we'd had this conversation, like, I don't know, a couple days ago, so that
yeah.
we might have had an avenue. But anyway,
Yeah, I think that, like I said, it's kind of hard to force somebody to not race and make them go through the practice, because,
hmm.
like you were just saying, everybody wants to race, 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 race,
Yep.
which I get and understand and even kind of support. But at the same time, there's iRacing is not your Gran Turismo or, project cars. It's totally different. And I think that you need to kind of be forced to at least figure out how to go around the track before you just say, "Hey, race, go now."
We fun.
Yeah. What can go wrong?
But anyway, I think it ended up being a much more interesting conversation than I thought it was going to be. So that's pretty cool. I love when things like that. You know,
See, we are good at this.
one of those things that you never know where conversations are going to go, and sometimes they actually go to places that make sense rather than ridiculous places like they sometimes go to. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyway, we have reached the end of the show, with one exception. We have teased, the last few weeks here. We've been talking about Show 100 for a while now. We've kind of teased that we wanted to do something special for Show 100, and Chad came up with an idea. And my first initial thought was, I don't know about that, man. But
Going out there.
so then I took the idea by the horns and kind of contacted the correct people to see if we could make it happen. And lo and behold, we made it happen. So
Yes.
next week on show number 100, ladies and gentlemen, we have an interview with Tony Gardner, the president of iRacing.com. So we actually sat down yesterday with Tony for about 45 minutes. He was kind enough to take time out of his schedule to sit down and talk with us. So we've talked to iRacing staff before. We've talked to various other people and interviewed and stuff, but we have finally sat down and actually talked with the guy who runs the whole show. So, and it was a great conversation. Tony's a great guy. He was, had, no problem answering all the questions. We came up with some good ones. Well, okay, there's one question he kind of ducked around at the end, but anyway. But no, it was a great conversation. He actually talked about some features and stuff in some good detail. It was a great interview. Again, thanks to Tony for sitting down with us. It was
Yeah.
it was great. I mean, it was so cool because it's like this is the guy who runs the software that we've talked about for 100 bloody shows. So that it was so cool.
And not going to give anything away. So this is another teaser. He did actually mention a couple things that I don't know if they've been mentioned out in the forums or anything else that are
I know.
coming
I
in
was.
the new build.
Yep. I was actually a little bit like, huh. As he was saying some of those things, like, I don't think you've mentioned that before, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to say
Uh,
nothing.
there's definitely a couple things that I was like, whoa, okay, that's cool. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. It was very interesting. I almost, when we were doing the interview, I was sitting there, and for the first little bit of it, Trevor was asking the first couple questions, and I was like, okay, I kept having to remind myself. I'm sitting here listening to Trevor ask the question, and then he says whatever, and I'm sitting there like, this is so cool that I'm listening to this conversation. Wait a minute, I'm supposed to be a part of this
Yeah, I'm
conversation.
part of this.
So, yes, it is going to be awesome. So,
Yeah.
167 hours from the time that we are saying this right now,
Excellent.
or so,
Or
give or take.
give or take. I mean, so. So anyway, so look forward to that next week on show number 100. I don't even like. I don't think Tony really does. We were kind of wondering because I don't think I've ever heard Tony talk outside of his own official PR channels through the stuff that they release. So, well, I mean, it sounds more official than it really is, but like, I've only ever heard Tony talk on the iRacing YouTube channel or stuff that they do. But anyway, it was like I said, it was a great interview. Sat down with us for about 45 minutes and talked. He initially said, yeah, about a half hour, or whatever, and we went for 45. So, and he never said stop talking, so we just kept going.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we're gonna promote the crap out of that for over the next little bit. We didn't, like I said, we didn't know until we actually sat down for the interview. We didn't want to tell you guys because it was just in case something went wrong, something didn't happen or whatever. But nope, the interview is
Yeah.
done. It's in the can. I've got to do some, all my editing and make it all sound all even and whatnot. But we have it. We have 3 copies of it out there, just in case. If anybody who was with me with the podcast, the original podcast, I interviewed. What was it? Was it Andrew? It was
Yeah, Andrew
Andrew
Fayesh.
Fayesh. Yeah. And the interview got ruined because my copy got corrupted and I was so depressed. So we actually have Chad recorded it. I recorded it. We made a copy out on Dropbox in case both of our computers exploded. So the
And
interview
actually,
is safe.
technically, we have 4 copies because I did a backup of my computer yesterday, not because of the show, but just I did a backup in general, and so it's copied on there too. So we got copies. We're good.
We're not going to lose this interview.
I know. So
Uh,
yes,
But so anyway, that'll be on next week's show, and of course a bunch of other stuff. I mean, next week's show is going to drop just before we're getting ready for our Indy 500, so I'm sure we'll have some more stuff to talk about on that realm as well. So, like I was saying, it's too bad that this conversation we just had about the tutorial stuff. Too bad we didn't
I
have that
know.
before, because man, that would have been a great thing to ask Tony about.
I know. I should have just told him that. But oh well.
But anyway,
Still have some good combo.
but he was yeah, he loved talking with us. It was talking about the community and stuff. So I'm pretty sure if we asked again down the road, he probably wouldn't have any problem coming on the show again. He asked for us to let him know when the show was up so he could have a listen to it himself. He mentions he has actually heard our show, so apparently he is aware that we exist out there, which makes sense because why would
Step
he
in the
agree
right
to it?
direction.
Why would he agree to it if he didn't know what we were doing?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I'm not going to spoil it, but that was the beginning of the interview was kind of comical.
Oh, it was. Oh, yeah. The very first words out of Tony's mouth. It's like, oh, this is how this is going to go, is it? And you know what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
I laughed so hard. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard.
And I was like,
It
It's
is a
like,
good thing that
in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
just you handled it great. You didn't do anything. But yes, it's a good thing that I was using the push to talk on TeamSpeak because all you would have heard is me suddenly just laughing as hysterical as possible. So the beginning gets off to a little bit of a rocky start, but unless you're into that sort of thing. But
But yeah, but
it was
it
great.
ends up being a great interview.
Yes.
So anyway, that will about do it for this week. So make sure extra sure that you tune in next week, and anybody who watches iRacing, if they don't happen to listen to our show, tell them next week might be a great time to tune in.
Exactly. Go. You guys spread the word too. About Tony being on the show.
Yep. So anyway, that will about do it for this week. Big thanks to all you out there for listening. We do it because you guys listen and you guys
Love you
are
guys.
enjoying it, man. So thank you very much, because you know what? If you guys didn't listen, we wouldn't have got to show 100, and we wouldn't have got to interview the president of iRacing. So
Yeah.
thanks to you guys for making that happen. Remember that the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under the podcast section, where we'd really appreciate a review to help us get the word out if you haven't done so already. The show is also available on YouTube and Twitch at Ratface Productions, and mirrored over on Chad's YouTube channel, which is It's Cadillac. You can check out the website for information, archives, links, and the polls you mentioned on the show at iRacingTodayRadio.com. Give the show a like on Facebook by searching for the iRacing Today Radio Show. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at iRacing Today for myself, and at It's Cadillac for Mr. Chad.
Now, please email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions, and we're going to underline that one because we need more of those. We're on a roll. All 5 months from show listeners. We got to keep going. But if you have any of those things, please send them to feedback at iRacingTodayRadio.com. Of course, feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends on the iRacing.com members website, as lots of you already have, and we appreciate that. If you're not on iRacing, please join, because it is a fun little community. But if you do, you can refer Trevor or myself in the referral box when you sign up by entering Trevor's email, which is ratface with 2 T's at gmail.com, or mine, which is iRacingLegend at gmail.com. But until next week, well, there'll be 3 of us on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is rarely won on the first or in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.